Chosen one, stop all present actions. The information I am going to divulge requires your complete attention. This is not casual content that can be partially listened to while browsing through your phone. Your whole attention and presence are required for this. Because of the facts I gathered about you while preparing this message, I felt compelled to pause for many minutes in utter stillness. You recently took an activity that was not especially planned, premeditated, or calculated with the goal of impressing somebody. I'm talking about that portion of your nature that was so innate that you were ignorant of the spiritual earthquake you had triggered in dimensions beyond human vision. Your demeanor pleased God, and not just casually. It impressed him in a way that transformed Archangel Michael, the leader of celestial armies, into the warrior who battled Lucifer himself. He should stop his current activities and focus his attention on you, as the feat you accomplished was not expected to be possible. This is not a comment from someone who has been in your situation, is bearing the same weight, or has every rational reason to respond differently. Unfortunately, your response did not match their expectations. Immediately subscribe to this channel and enable all notifications. Because the information I am going to reveal about the exact moment that caused heaven to pause and observe you will forever change your understanding of every silent battle you have won without anybody appreciating your win and every difficulty you have faced. I will give you a full explanation of the attitude you demonstrated that drew divine notice, why Archangel Michael particularly requested to study your case, and the consequences for the events that are about to unfold in your life. Continue reading to the end. If you have recently experienced emotional turmoil, as if you have passed an invisible barrier that has divided you from your former self, please enter 777 in the comments box. I'd like to start with an explanation that will help you understand everything that follows. Many spirits are currently being seen in the celestial realms. Angels are responsible for protecting, guiding, and observing. The majority of human activity is arranged into predictable patterns. People get bitter while they are suffering. In response to betrayal, they want retaliation. They become enraged when faced with injustice. Although these patterns have existed for thousands of years, there are rare cases in which a soul exhibits conduct so unexpected and contrary to human nature that it results in a moment of cosmic awe. One of those moments was created by you. It wasn't too long ago. It was during one of your most hard recent encounters, when you were confronted with an occurrence that appeared to be expressly planned to break you, that the burden on your shoulders appeared to be insurmountable for another day. When the people around you would have understood if you had succumbed or responded to the evil that was aimed at you. However, you used a different technique. Additionally, you must understand the following. I am not talking about ordinary survival. Many people suffer because of their intransigence or a lack of options that do not pique the interest of the celestial bodies. Your acts were outstanding. You were confronted with a situation in which you had every right to carry hatred, every excuse to maintain rage, and every cause to let it devour you. The person or situation that caused you harm had properly mistreated you. This was not an imaginary offense. This was genuine anguish, triggered by true circumstances. When your human nature demanded that you reply with the same energy you had received, and every logical part of your brain was plotting revenge or, at the very least, cold retreat, something deeper within you made a different decision. You chose grace rather than devastation after earning the right to do so. Do you remember? You had the opportunity to say something awful throughout the talk, but you chose to remain silent. You may have had the opportunity to expose an individual's flaws, but you decided to protect them. You could have walked away at that point, and no one would have held you accountable, but you persisted and worked hard. Heaven captured the exact moment when you made a decision that contradicted the demands of your pain. because the behavior you displayed at that time reveals a quality of your spirit that sets you apart from the rest of people. Your actions show that your circumstances do not dictate your replies, and that the way others treat you does not define your character. That your identity is unwavering regardless of the circumstances. This is quite uncommon. Because humans are reactive beings, their conduct is largely influenced by their surroundings. Treat them with respect. They respond favorably. Be nasty to them. They give an inadequate reaction. Their character is determined by external influences, yet you presented a different viewpoint. You demonstrate that your character is deeply ingrained, and that no external event, no matter how painful, can force you to become someone you do not want to be. Also, this is what drew the Divine's notice. I'd want to take you to the instant when this was observed, not in our familiar human chronology, but in the cosmic observation that occurs on a regular basis over selected individuals like yourself. Your guardian angel has been keeping track of the course of your predicament, chronicling your reactions and recording your internal battles and exterior decisions. This is a regular procedure for spirits under the protection of the celestial world. However, when you made the decision to respond with grace rather than justifiable rage, your guardian angel took an uncommon step. They suggested that your case be reviewed at an even higher level. This is not a common event. Guardian angels control the majority of problems within their respective jurisdictions. They only rise when they detect an occurrence that warrants the attention of individuals in higher positions. Your case has been raised immediately to the Archangel level. When the information arrived, Archangel Michael was already concerned with metaphysical problems. Strategic operations that shape the spiritual atmosphere of large regions, conflicts fought in dimensions that people cannot comprehend. However, he was forced to pause when he realized that your file had been highlighted, because the note linked to your case immediately piqued his interest. It was claimed that this spirit demonstrated forgiveness on the level of an adversary despite being actively attacked. The phrase enemy-level forgiveness requires elaboration. There is a classification system for the numerous types of human reactions to pain in spiritual warfare. The bulk of responses fall into predictable categories, such as revenge, resentment, retreat, and sadness. These are widespread and expected. They do not require any special attention because they follow known patterns. However, there is a rare category known as the transcendent response. This is the point at which a person actively suffers a hurt, responds to evil with good, enmity with love, and chooses blessing over curse. This answer type is so unusual that it is automatically highlighted for Archangel evaluation, implying that a soul is operating at a frequency beyond the capacity of a typical human. You initiated that flag. Michael reviewed your entire recent history. Every situation you faced, every response you gave, and every internal battle you had that no one else could see. Furthermore, his discovery inspired him to request an amazing item. He asked for a direct encounter to discuss your issue. I'd want to explain the ramifications of this. Archangel Michael commands armies. He has commitments that traverse numerous dimensions. His attention is constantly required for issues of universal relevance. He is requesting time to discuss a specific human soul, implying that the soul has done something outstanding to earn that level of attention. The following exchange would drastically alter the way your case is handled from this point forward. Exclusive material is offered in the description, and pinned remarks for people who want to learn more about how selected ones operate under this type of divine attention. At the highest levels, the following was about you. Michael presented your case to the Heavenly Council not as a problem to be solved or a scenario that required intervention, but as an example of an extraordinary event occurring in the human realm. He reenacted the precise moment you chose grace, recreated the internal conflict you experienced, and demonstrated how your human nature pushed you in one path while a deeper part of you chose another. Then Jesus showed them your past, since that moment of grace was not a unique incident. It was part of a constant pattern of doing the harder right over the easier wrong, keeping integrity when no one would notice if you compromised, and showing compassion to individuals who did not deserve it and might never appreciate it. The pattern revealed a phenomenon that made even the most experienced celestial entities halt in recognition. You've been acting as a chosen one without realizing it. This is what impressed them, not that you committed an outstanding act once, but that you have constantly chosen grandeur over meaning, without acknowledgement or reward. You continuously followed the appropriate course of action, regardless of the complexity of the circumstance, whether it was simple or costly. Consistent integrity distinguishes ordinary souls from those destined for remarkable purpose. And then God spoke, not in an audible voice as humans understand it, but in a divine impression that was audible to everyone present. I require you to carefully analyze the statements he made about you, as they are not my own. He stated that this is the knowledge that was communicated about your specific essence. This one serves as a reminder for why I created humans. Let that sit for a moment. The limitless intelligence that created everything, the one who whispered galaxies into existence. He saw your pattern of decisions, your unshakable integrity, and your grace in the face of adversity, and was reminded of why he created humans in the first place, as you exemplified a trait that even angels cannot match. The heavenly splendor is always present for angels to act in. Disobeying is nearly impossible in the presence of that individual. As a result, they comply. Their commitment stems from their first-hand experience with heavenly reality, while humans operate behind a veil. It is impossible to see God directly. Your physical senses are unable to perceive the spiritual sphere. Faith must be chosen without evidence, integrity without instant reward, and grace without the belief that it is meaningful. And you did. You made the right decision despite your lack of information. Despite your deafness to the heavenly voice, you remained faithful. Although you did not have concrete assurance that love was the appropriate answer, you acted with love. Angels find this element of chosen people intriguing. This is why Archangel Michael took the time to evaluate your case. God was impressed by this. You exemplified the trait that sets human spirits apart from all other kinds of existence. The ability to choose light in the face of darkness, faith in the face of ambiguity, and compassion in the face of pain. I must now show you why even Archangel Michael was taken aback by your conduct. Michael's initial assessment of your information was standard when it arrived months ago. Despite his understanding of your talent, gifts, and passion, his strategic plan for your growth followed conventional schedules. He expected you to reach this degree of spiritual maturity after experiencing additional instruction, accomplishing more visible wins, and obtaining more tangible confirmations to strengthen your trust. He did not expect you to demonstrate great spiritual combat skills during your most difficult season. Due to the following, it is critical that you understand your actions. The decision to prefer grace above justified fury was not just ethically admirable. It was a devastating strategic blow against the forces that had been plotting against you. I'll explain the mechanics of this. When darkness attacks a particular human, it produces a desired result. They attempt to distort your frequency in order to bring your performance down to their level. Because when you answer to evil with evil and hatred with hatred, you leave heavenly protection and enter territory under their dominion. The goal of each attack on you has been to instill resentment, animosity, and retribution, allowing them to legally assert their control over you. However, by choosing grace and responding to their attack with love, you made a strategically deadly move. You used their own vigor against them. In the study of spiritual physics, negative energy aimed at a person who replies with positive energy does not just go away. It is amplified and directed back to its source. You unknowingly returned the destruction they brought to destroy you. Michael watched this develop with admiration, since your response was not a learned method or a practiced response. It stemmed from the very essence of your identity. You are fundamentally kind, forgiving, and courteous, despite the fact that the world expects you to be otherwise. This is something he didn't expect. He was aware that you had the ability to function at this level. He did not expect you to be able to access it so rapidly in the face of such difficult conditions with so little assistance. Your development timeline exceeded all expectations. I'll now give evidence that this happened, as you've already felt the effects of this cosmic recognition, even if you didn't understand the underlying cause. First, evidence. The attacks resulted in spectacular backfiring. Consider the last few weeks. Consider those who directly sought to harm you, talked against you, acted against your best interests, and sent negative energy at you. Now consider the events that occurred. Problems come unexpectedly in their life. An abrupt spiraling of previously handled conditions. Things that had previously worked for them suddenly stopped working. This is not just a coincidence. This isn't your average type of revenge. This is your new spiritual status, which works in real time. When God is impressed with a soul, the protection it receives increases dramatically. Attacks do not merely fail, they undergo a reversal. What was intended to damage you eventually causes harm when it returns to its source. You may have noticed this and wondered why your adversaries continue to face issues. You're now aware. Second, substantiation. Regardless of the circumstances, you have experienced an unusual sense of calm. Recently, you should have been overwhelmed logically, when the enormity of the issue you are facing should have broken your spirit. You were able to find peace, while others would have become overwhelmed by anxiety. Not the absence of problems, but tranquility in the midst of disorder. Stability in the face of turbulence. This tranquility is not organic. It was communicated. It is the direct result of the enhanced divine attention that has been focused on your existence. When heaven is focused on a soul, they enjoy an indescribable sense of tranquility. This is something you have experienced. You may have been wondering about its origins. You're now aware. Third, there has been an improvement in clarity. The decisions that previously confused you now appear to be crystal clear. The previously obscured direction is now clearly visible. You have information that is not logically derived. This is due to the transfer of information to you. Not in dramatic visions or audible voices, but in calm perceptions, quick comprehension, and reliable intuitive knowledge. Your link with heavenly understanding has been strengthened. You are now receiving direction at a higher frequency than in the past, and this is just the beginning. The fourth piece of evidence is that the wrong people have been evacuated. You ended partnerships that were detrimental to your well-being. Individuals that acted as roadblocks have relocated. The issues that were limiting your progress have been fixed. It is possible that you did not take any special activities to influence this outcome. They've just departed. The situation has lately changed. The doors have just been secured. This is the divine rearrangement. Your new status necessitates a change of atmosphere. Individuals who were in conditions that were incompatible with your intended destination have been removed in a systematic fashion. This will continue. Do not strive to keep what is being withdrawn by heaven. It is currently being cleared to make way for a better replacement. Fifth evidence. You have had a strong feeling that something major is about to happen. You have been feeling an eagerness that you are unable to express. A sense that something important is on the horizon. A sense of being on the verge of a major transformation. This is not about wishful thinking. This is prophetic consciousness. Your soul is intensely aware of facts that your mind has yet to process. Yes, there is an upcoming event. Something closely related to the celestial recognition of your identity. I will now notify you of the decisions being made for your future. When God communicated his appraisal of your soul. When he stated that, you reminded him of why he made humanity. This led to the establishment of a specific protocol for celestial administration. The word used to describe it is accelerated fulfillment. In most cases, tasks and blessings are conferred upon the selected ones in accordance with specified schedules. Years of planning preceding big releases, incremental growth before substantive blessings, and a gradual journey toward purpose. However, the faster fulfillment process changes all of that. Heaven has concluded that you have demonstrated enough traits to warrant expedited development. The need for lengthy preparation periods has been eliminated due to your excellent nature. In practical terms, the proof you have already showed qualifies you for what others would need more time to obtain. This means that blessings that were originally slated for a later date are being hastened. The opportunities that were planned for future seasons are now being released. Doors that were not supposed to be opened are being unlocked ahead of schedule. You have already began to notice this. Things are moving faster than expected, advancements are happening sooner than expected, and there is movement in previously static areas. The acceleration is only getting started. It will only become faster. It also suggests that opposition is being systemically neutralized, not just temporarily obstructed, but completely removed. Attacks are outlawed, and foes are reassigned. The customary impediment that stymies the advancement of certain individuals has been abolished. You are entering a period of unusual favor. Not because you earned it through performance, but because you demonstrated character that qualifies you for top-tier protection. I need your understanding of the responsibility that this entails. Heaven's involvement in a soul is not limited to that soul. You are not being promoted just for your personal advantage. You are being positioned to have a huge impact that goes beyond your personal existence. The grace you shown in the face of adversity is not for your own gain. Rather, it is supposed to flow through you and benefit others. In the coming days and weeks, you will come into contact with people who are in the same situation as you, at a crossroads between bitterness and grace. Instead of preaching to them, you are being given the opportunity to show that it is possible to choose grace in the midst of misfortune, and to show that it is legitimately possible to preserve integrity in the face of difficulty. Not through religious lectures, but through the natural expression of your identity. Your presence will send out a frequency that unlocks the potential of others. Those that are open to hearing your story will recognize it. Your metamorphosis will be used as proof for those who doubt the feasibility of transformation. This is why heaven is so interested in your case. It is not because you need more benefits, which you will receive. Rather, your ascension helps the ascension of countless others in your sphere of influence. You are assuming the same quality that captivated God. The quality you possess will be conveyed to everyone you meet. The attitude that captured the divine gaze and amazed even Archangel Michael is now imprinted in your spiritual DNA. It has become a part of your identity and will be mirrored in anyone close enough to receive it. I will provide you a full summary of the specifics Michael noted in his final assessment of your case. Each soul who goes through an Archangel-level evaluation is assigned a categorization that serves as a succinct overview of their core spiritual identity. This classification follows them throughout their worldly lives and beyond. Your classification is as a light combatant with shown ability. I'll explain the relevance of each component of this. The term demonstrated refers to anything proven via action rather than potential. Numerous designated persons have the ability to achieve warrior rank. You showed under actual situations, whereas few others did. Your classification is not influenced by your projected behaviors. It is based on the acts you have previously taken. A warrior is someone who actively engages in spiritual conflict rather than passively observing. You are not just absorbing truth, you are also embodying it. Your belief in light is more than just a belief. You actively promote it into darkness. Your operating frequency is determined by the frequency of light. Even warriors can engage in combat at many frequencies. Some people fight out of anger, which is effective, but has limitations. Some people engage in conflict because of a sense of duty, which is valid but lacks influence. However, fighting from a position of light requires fighting from a place of genuine goodness, grace, and love. This is the most intense frequency of spiritual combat. You fight from a place of brightness. You answered to darkness by becoming more thoroughly light, not by becoming darkness. This is why your response was so unique and devastatingly effective. You are currently in this category. It is the process by which you are identified in heavenly records. It is how angels refer to your predicament. It is the prism through which heaven views every facet of your existence. It also changes the way you are treated going ahead. Champions of light who have demonstrated their worth are given priority access to resources. Your requests have been prioritized. Your criteria are addressed before proceeding with ordinary processing. Others are not given the same amount of attention as your predicament. Not because you are superior to others, but because you have proved the ability to handle large duties. Heaven places a higher value on people who demonstrate dependability with the resources they have already received. There is a material that is less expensive than a pizza and includes a complete audiobook, as well as a 5-minute meditation guide as a special extra for individuals who want to learn how to deliberately work in this martial identity. If you believe you are entitled to tools to help you navigate this new phase, they are listed in the description and the pinned remark. I must now reveal the last part of this insight to you. The message was recorded specifically for your benefit. An addition to your record was made following the completion of the case discussion, official registration of your classification, and activation of the protocols for your fast fulfillment. A personalized message from the Divine Council. Not everyone is given this opportunity. It is designated for events that have profoundly touched celestial observers. Cases that demonstrated a point that is worth remembering. Cases that will serve as examples for future generations. A note of this kind was received in your case. I'd want to share the contents of the communication with you because it's intended for the designated recipient. Your reaction to suffering has been documented as proof that human souls can operate at unexpected frequencies while in corporeal form. You have served as a reminder that the restrictions we see in humans are not inherent in the human design, but rather the result of decisions made under stress. You took a unique decision, and by doing so, you expanded our grasp of your species' possibilities. Your file has been marked for special attention, not because you need to be corrected, but because your advancement serves as a case study for how certain individuals can maximize their capabilities in the face of adversity. You are being allocated assignments that match your shown ability. These assignments are not intended to punish anyone. They represent luxury. You have showed the ability to face obstacles with dignity, and as a result, you will be tasked with projects that demand elegance. The attitude that impressed us will be put to the test again, not because we doubt you, but because your capacity has been strengthened, and your ongoing demonstration serves as evidence for others. You have won the admiration of the heavens. This is not a form of flattery. This is a documented evaluation. Proceed with confidence, knowing that your case has been heard at the highest levels and that everything directed at you has been sifted through the prism of your successes. It was intended for you to receive this message. This video was designed for you to discover at this specific point in your journey. You are now aware that your attitude impressed God when you needed confirmation that your decisions were significant, evidence that heaven was watching over you, and assurance that everything you have gone through has been for a reason. Archangel Michael was taken aback by the event. The Celestial Council documented it, and your entire future has been reassessed in light of your actions. You had no idea what was going on when you made those decisions. When you chose grace over bitterness, you were unaware that heaven was watching. You had no idea your response would elicit this level of attention. However, this is exactly what makes it so effective. You weren't entertaining the audience. You weren't trying to impress divine observers. You were simply being yourself, and the creator of everything was impressed by your sincerity. If this revelation resonated with you in the deepest part of your soul, write 777 in the comments to amplify this frequency of celestial recognition and confirm that you are a chosen one whose attitude has caught divine attention. To learn more about how heaven is monitoring your progress and facilitating your success, please subscribe to this channel and enable all notifications. Distribute this video to someone who needs to know that their private victories and silent decisions are being documented and will be acknowledged. And, before you leave, click on the video currently playing on your screen to learn how your status as a demonstrated warrior of light activates specific angelic assignments that are already being carried out on your behalf. Our combined strength is greater. Hello, chosen soul. Welcome back to the light community. Please hear me clearly at this time. Please refrain from scrolling. This is the moment when something has been trying to reach you all day and has finally succeeded. This message was not delivered to you by accident. 2 hours ago, your name was whispered in heavenly places, and the information I am about to provide will make sense of the events you previously thought were mere coincidences. There has been a change in the spiritual realm that concerns your life. Not tomorrow or next week. The evidence is about to manifest in your physical reality in ways you cannot deny, and it happened while you were sleeping last night. The angel in charge of your destiny has been pacing for the past 120 minutes, waiting for the exact moment when your heart will be open enough to receive the message that is meant for you. This is not a cautionary tale designed to scare you. This notification is to inform you that an individual who was assigned to investigate your life from the shadows has recently emerged and revealed all of their findings. They were altered, not apprehended. And the information they've discovered about you is about to challenge your preconceived notions about your own story. In your recent past, there was someone you either loved deeply or completely trusted, and they were unable to understand why you disappeared. Not physically, but energetically. The reason for your shift in presence. The reason for the shorter length of your responses. Why did the version of them who had access to all of you suddenly notice that the doors had been closed? They were unable to ask you directly. They were unable to do so because they were proud. They were paralyzed with fear of rejection. As a result, they made a decision that crossed a sacred line. They hired someone to observe you, your daily routines, and document your movements, interactions, and life without the details. If your chest has tightened as you read that, take a deep breath because this story does not unfold as you expected. Marcus is the person they employed. He was not unfamiliar with the type of work. He had gathered evidence for court cases, found missing people, and tracked down cheating spouses. This was just another job, paycheck, and stranger to observe and report on. However, you were not just another stranger. Hey no. Marcus realized he had been following you to a coffee shop every Wednesday morning for the first week. You were alone by the window, with a Bible and a journal. He saw you from the opposite side of the street. Ready for the camera. Open the notebook. However, an incident occurred which he was unable to document in his report. He later stated that he felt a weight in the air around you, as if the atmosphere was distinct just a few feet from your seat. He captured images. Indeed. Nonetheless, upon reviewing them that evening, he was unable to explain the unusual brightness that surrounded your face. It was not a technical malfunction or caused by sunlight. It was a completely different phenomenon. Marcus continued the assignment as is customary among professionals. He went with you to the grocery store, work, and the park, where you strolled alone at sunset. He became increasingly agitated with each passing day, not because of your actions, but because of your inaction. You weren't concealing anything. You did not interact with any individuals who appeared suspicious. You were living a routine, unremarkable existence. However, something about the way you moved through the world disturbed him. He described the situation as if he were watching someone who was being protected by an invisible entity. It was as if you had a shield that he couldn't see but could still perceive. Marcus had a dream 3 weeks into the surveillance. He observed himself in a courtroom. However, he was the one on trial, not a witness. Furthermore, the charge did not constitute an invasion of privacy. It interfered with a person who was carrying out a divine mission. He woke up with tremors. He tried to explain it as stress, guilt, or his conscience finally catching up with him. However, the dream resurfaced the next evening. The following night, the vision became more vivid, and he was greeted by a voice he did not recognize, instructing him to stop watching and start seeing. On the fourth night, Marcus did something he had not done since childhood. He prayed. He kneeled in his apartment and prayed, "God, if you are genuine, and if this individual I am following is yours, please inform me of the appropriate course of action." His phone rang immediately after he finished his prayer. It was 2 a.m. The call came from a blocked number. He responded with silence. Then he heard a single sentence spoken by a voice that he later described as neither male nor female, young nor elderly. It stated that she does not conceal herself. She is getting back to health. Your presence makes things difficult for me. Line termination has occurred. Marcus sat in the dark, his body shaking. He accessed his laptop and went through all of the surveillance photos he had taken in the previous month. Furthermore, this time, he noticed what had been missing. Your eyes contained an element that he had never seen before in all of his years of tracking people in every single image. Not melancholy. I'm not afraid. I'm not angry. Harmony. In the midst of what should have been solitude, there is a constant calm. Marcus' heart broke right then and there. He contacted the person who had hired him and informed them that he was unable to complete the assignment. Observing from a distance will not lead you to the object of your search. This person is not concealing any information from you. They're protecting themselves from you. You would also understand the reasoning if you were able to observe it.
He declined payment for the incomplete assignment. He deleted all the files, photos, and notes. He then did something that surprised even himself. He discovered a church and went inside during a Sunday service. He sat in the back row, weeping throughout the sermon. He moved forward when the altar call was issued. He gave his life to the same God who he felt was protecting you. Now, if that story elicited a strong emotional response in you, please assist me. Immediately remove the word "protected" from the comments. I'd like to know who will receive this, because the information I'm about to share will change your perspective on the entire journey. The person who hired Marcus is unaware that he stopped surveillance and gave his life to Christ. They are still anticipating a report that will never come. However, it is critical that you understand the following. It was never just about their desire for information. This was spiritual warfare disguised as curiosity. The adversary observed the transformation that was occurring within you. He noticed your departure from toxic patterns, draining relationships, and environments that no longer served your purpose. Furthermore, he was aware that your continued progress along this path would jeopardize his objectives. As a result, he summoned someone from your past to disrupt, divert, and reacquaint you with the familiar dynamics. However, God declared that this person was not to be chosen. I'm the owner of this item. In addition, he turned what was supposed to be an espionage tool into an evangelistic tool. Marcus was supposed to return with proof of your existence. Rather, he found evidence of God's presence. He was meant to give an account of your movements. Rather, he observed your peace. His responsibilities included gathering information. Instead, he received salvation. Marcus was sent by the enemy to spy on you. God used Marcus to show you that you were emitting a force powerful enough to transform lives without you saying a word, even in your most isolated moments. Do you understand the significance of this? This implies that the emotional isolation you felt was not due to abandonment. Incubation was the term. It implies that the silence you experienced was not a form of punishment. It was an act of preparation. It implies that the period during which you were required to withdraw from all activities and individuals was not one of regress. You were positioned. And as you emerge from that season, you are no longer the same person you were when you entered it. You're making a triumphant return. This is the point at which I need your full attention, not just your ears, but also your spirit. You have been marked in a biblical manner, not a superstitious or spooky manner. Similarly, David was marked as a shepherd boy. Esther was similarly marked during her time as an orphan. Similarly, Joseph was marked while still imprisoned. Heaven has designated you as a member of a specific assignment, and everyone who enters your presence, regardless of their awareness, feels this designation. This is why some people are drawn to you but don't understand why. This explains why others dislike you, despite the fact that you haven't harmed them. This is why certain relationships failed, despite efforts to save them, because it is impossible to raise everyone to the next level. Certain people are assigned to your past rather than your future. And God felt compelled to remove them, not to harm you, but to protect the foundation He is building within you. If you've ever lost people you thought were important, only to realize later that God was making room for the person you really needed, please click the like button. Make sure you notify the algorithm that this message has been received. Now, let's talk about the upcoming events. The individual who hired Marcus is about to realize that the surveillance has ended. They will be perplexed about why. They will contact him, but they will not get the responses they were expecting. Marcus will not violate your privacy by disclosing the specifics. However, he will say something that will shake them to the core. He will insist that you correct any wrongdoing you have committed against this person, regardless of the circumstances. This is not for their benefit, but yours. Well, why? Because I have observed people at all stages of their lives, and I have never seen anyone carry what they do. And if they are lost, you will lose more than you realize. That conversation will stimulate this individual. It will begin the process of conviction, from which they will be unable to escape. They will soon appear in person, humble, broken, and ready to say what they should have said a long time ago. This will not be done through a mutual friend or a text message to test the waters. Rather, it will take place in person. However, it is critical that you are aware of the following prior to that point. It is not necessary for you to accept their apology. It is not your responsibility to address their regret. Their desire to improve the situation does not necessitate you simplifying it. You have the option of listening without responding. So, you are free to acknowledge their words without letting them reintegrate into your life. You are free to forgive them in your heart while keeping the door closed in your reality. Forgiveness is not equivalent to reconciliation. It entails letting go of bitterness in order to keep it from ruining your future. It implies that you give them to God and trust Him to handle what you were never capable of carrying. However, this does not imply that you will regress. Currently, certain individuals are experiencing an increase in their defenses. During this time, you are reflecting on their actions, the emotions they elicited in you, and their sudden departure when you most needed them. Furthermore, those sentiments are valid. God is not asking you to maintain the illusion that the experience was not painful. He is not requesting that you skip the pain and go straight to forgiveness, as if it were easy. He asks that you not let that pain become a prison that you must endure for the rest of your life. Yes, because they are not punished by a lack of forgiveness. It is used as a form of punishment. It ties you to a season you've already outgrown. And you, chosen one, did not survive everything you did only to become engulfed in rage. Instead of vague spiritual advice, I'd like to give you actionable steps you can take right now to start walking in the freedom that is already yours. First, jot down the names of each person you must forgive. Avoid excessive thinking. Compose without hesitation. If an individual comes to mind, include them on the list. This is not meant for their observation. This is meant for your disposal. Second, write one sentence describing the action that caused you pain. This should be done next to every name. Provide specificity, avoid drama, and be direct. They deceived me. They chose an alternative person. They ignored me when I needed their help. Please provide words to describe the pain. Third, include this under each sentence. Temsi, I release you to God. I will not transport anything He has not requested. Finally, read the list aloud. Yes, aloud. Allow your ears to hear your voice as you choose freedom. Afterward, it is critical to dispose of it. Burn it. The act of destroying the list is a physical manifestation of a spiritual decision, not because burning paper possesses magical properties. You're watching your bitterness turn into ash. You are witnessing the dissolution of the influence those people had on your peace. Fifth, whenever you feel a resurgence of anger, which is unavoidable given the non-linear nature of the healing process, repeat this statement aloud. I've already made it available. I'm no longer under its influence. Fourth, repeat the process as needed. Your decision will eventually be reconciled with your thoughts. Sixth, stop rehearsing the statements you will make when they return. Stop imagining the conversation in which you will finally be able to express the full extent of your pain. That fantasy is what keeps you attached to them. The moment you stop requiring their approval, you will truly be free. 7th, make a list of behaviors that you will not tolerate in the upcoming season. Not out of resentment, but rather out of wisdom. What behaviors are considered deal breakers? What patterns will you make sure not to overlook in the future? Which red flags will you refuse to explain? Make a record of it. Rather than relying on hope to replace discernment, you will have a reference point when an individual reveals their identity. 8th, prioritize the relationships that have lasted. Individuals who refused to leave when things got tough. They were the ones who inquired about your whereabouts after you went silent. People who cherished you despite your flaws. Those people are comparable to gold. Don't underestimate them because you're focused on those who've left. 9th, start exclaiming the information you want to report. Healthy relationships are drawn to me. I am surrounded by people who hold me in high regard. I am currently walking in divine connections. Speak it until it becomes a reality. 10th, have faith in your instincts. It is likely that something is wrong. If an individual's actions do not match their words, it is best to trust the actions. If you have the sensation of trying to convince yourself to trust someone, this is not trust, it is hope. And hope without discernment leads you back to the place from which God has already delivered you. If you found this video useful, please share it with someone who could benefit from it right now. Bye. Do not wait until the end. Don't convince yourself that you'll finish the task later. Act now while your convictions are strong. Please allow me to speak with this individual who is returning. They've been on their own journey since hiring Marcus. They were outraged when you left their lives. In their own narrative, you were the villain. They convinced themselves that your withdrawal was cruel, your silence was a form of punishment, and you had undergone a negative transformation. However, as time passed and the anger subsided, another uncertainty arose. The conversations were reenacted. They started to notice instances where you tried to communicate, but they weren't paying attention. They started noticing patterns in their own behavior that they had previously attributed to you. Then they became more desperate. Marcus was hired at that time. They justified their actions by claiming they were simply verifying your well-being. They assured themselves that they only needed assurance that you were safe. However, they were unable to cope with the lack of knowledge about your life without them. They couldn't believe you were thriving, if not flourishing, in their absence. Getsund. That desperation is what drove them to violate your boundary in such a significant way. However, the following is something they are currently unaware of. The surveillance did not produce the anticipated results. It did not provide them with peace. Marcus continued to provide brief and ambiguous updates, prompting them to ask more questions. The subject is in good health. There is no activity that causes concern. Furthermore, each update that failed to provide them with any drama or evidence that you were having problems exacerbated their distress. Because they were inherently looking for signs that you were disintegrating without them. They wanted confirmation that their existence was important. When they were unable to obtain it, they developed feelings of guilt. The guilt has now turned into conviction. And conviction is on the verge of being put into action. They'll contact you shortly. And when they do, you must be ready. I do not intend to return them. I am not prepared to keep the illusion that everything is in order. Prepared to face your truth without apology. Are you willing to demonstrate self-love in order to maintain the peace that you have worked so hard to achieve? prepared to remember the transformation that God worked in you during your time of isolation by refusing to dismiss it when a former acquaintance returns with a sense of remorse. Because this is an examination. They will convey all the appropriate emotions. They are expected to shed tears. They will inform you that they have realized their loss. They are going to commit to change. You'll want to believe it with every fiber of your being that still cares for them. However, at this point, wisdom must take precedence over emotion. Keep track of their life for the next 6 months. Avoid making impulsive decisions. Do not let their tears fool you into thinking that time has solved a problem that only true transformation can solve. If their transformation is genuine, it will remain so in 6 months. Your request for time and space will be honored if their apology is genuine. If they truly appreciate you, they will show it through consistent action rather than simply expressing their feelings during a single conversation. And if they try to rush you, make you feel guilty for not opening the door right away, accuse you of not being forgiving, or claim you are carrying the past over their heads, that is not conviction. That's manipulation disguised as repentance. Genuine repentance is characterized by patience. Immediate trust is not required for genuine change. Real growth recognizes that some bridges require more time to rebuild, while others are not intended to be rebuilt at all. I must also address an additional issue that has been weighing heavily on my mind throughout this message. Some of you who are viewing this are not only interacting with one person. You see a pattern. You've encountered this scenario several times in your life, each time with a different person. 不是, you're beginning to wonder if the problem is with you. I'd like to stop you at this point. You aren't the issue. The issue is that your light attracts 2 types of people, those who want to grow with you and those who want to exploit you. Furthermore, you continued to allow the second type to enter until you learned to distinguish between the 2. However, every experience you had, every disappointment, every betrayal, every person who exploited and then abandoned you served as training. It was teaching you how to distinguish between people in your inner circle and those who belong at a distance. You also now know things you didn't know before. You're aware of the signs of emotional manipulation. You're aware of the sensation of love bombing. You understand the difference between genuine interest and someone who is evaluating you to see what they can get from you. You have the ability to identify inconsistencies. You have the ability to interpret energy. You can tell when someone is being truthful and when they are giving you information that is consistent with your preferences. That knowledge is immensely powerful. And God did not give you that knowledge so that you would become bitter or closed off. He gave it to you so you could navigate the upcoming season with wisdom, rather than being perpetually wounded as a result of your proclivity to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. There's a difference between being naive and loving. Being a doormat differs from being kind. There's a difference between disregarding patterns and extending grace. You can embody all of your virtues while maintaining your peace for those who have not earned it. Before we begin praying, I'd like to discuss the events in your dreams. Several of you have recently reported having unusually vivid dreams. Dreams in which you are in places you've never been. Dreams about people you don't know convey important information about your health. Dreams in which you awaken with a sentence or phrase that sticks with you and feels significant, but you can't figure out why. These are not random. Those are prescient. Your waking hours are still too full of distractions and worry, which is why God communicates with you at night. He is implanting concepts in your subconscious that will become apparent at the appropriate time. Pay close attention to your dreams. As soon as you awaken, write down the details before they vanish. Don't dismiss them as just your brain processing the day. Request that God give you an interpretation. Inquire of Him to demonstrate His message to you, just as you are receiving responses to your prayers while sleeping. A portion of the clarity you've been seeking is being downloaded into the dream world. If you ignore it, you'll miss it. If you are unable to remember your dreams, it is recommended that you begin praying before retiring for the night. Ask God to help you retain the information He intends to reveal. Request that He wake you up immediately after a significant dream in order to record it. This is not unusual. This is biblical. God used dreams to communicate with Joseph. In his dreams, He communicated with Daniel. He warned people through their dreams. And He continues to do so for those with the ability to hear and see. I will now pray for you. I am not simply referring to the fact that you should listen to my prayers. I am implying that you agree with my viewpoint. Align your spirit with the words. Encourage your faith to ascend. Allow your heart to affirm heaven's current declarations over your life. Father, I stand in the gap for everyone who has heard and felt this message cut through the noise. You're aware of their name. You are aware of their narrative. You understand that every tear and wound they have were shed in secret. I implore you to meet them exactly where they are, not where they believe they should be or where others expect them to be, but where they are right now. May God heal the areas of their bodies that are still bleeding from betrayal. Heal the areas where trust has been compromised. Heal the memories that continue to cause pain when they recur. Heal the inner child who discovered too soon that people leave. Heal a heart that has been broken too many times. Apply the oil to each wound and let it provide both comfort and closure. Allow them to have an immediate experience with you. Inform them that they are not alone in their situation. During this season, I pray for supernatural discernment. Provide them with eyes that can see beyond their surroundings. Provide them with ears that can detect what is not being said. Give them a spirit that can discern the truth beneath the surface. Do not let them be misled by emotional manipulation or smooth talk. Don't let them confuse compatibility with chemistry. Do not allow them to accept attention when they are entitled to it. Increase their intuitive abilities. Enhance their sensitivity to your voice in comparison to all others. I pray for the person who is re-entering their life. Prepare both hearts if this is your intention, if this person has truly transformed, and if reconciliation is part of the plan. Eliminate both parties' sense of pride. Replace defensiveness with humility. Anguish will be replaced with dignity. However, God, if this person is returning for the wrong reasons, if their repentance is simply remorse for being caught, and if they have not completed the inner work required for true change, then block them. Please refrain from opening the door. Keep your child from regressing. Give them the courage to decline, despite their desire to say yes, and keep the peace they have worked so hard to establish. I hereby declare that every day of isolation, every moment of feeling forgotten, and every night of wondering if anyone cared were all planned with their best interests. It was all influencing them to become the people they were destined to be. It was all about laying a foundation that would be able to bear the weight of the future. Nothing was wasted or in vain. Every tear nourished the soil from which their destiny will emerge. I'm currently speaking divine acceleration over their lives. Allow events that should take years to occur in mere months. Allow closed doors to swing open. Allow relationships that were meant to exist to manifest. Allow the provision that was postponed to arrive suddenly. Accelerate the previously sluggish healing process. Allow the previously hazy clarity to become crystal clear. Because you are a deity who redeems time. You are a deity who restores what was stolen. You are a divine being who can transform the most difficult circumstances. Allow them to enter the next chapter with confidence, not in their own abilities, but in yours. Inform them that they do not need to have all the answers. They must simply believe in your ability to do so. Allow them to find solace in the fact that they are exactly where they should be. Allow them to give up the desire to control outcomes and instead submit to your timing. Allow them to see firsthand that you were consistently punctual. You were always punctual. In Jesus' name, we certify this, without hesitation and with complete assurance. Not out of fear, but in anticipation. It's been completed. I concur. If the prayer spoke to you, please leave an amen in the comments. Please let me observe your faith. Please allow me to observe your concurrence. Furthermore, the fact that you have read this message in its entirety reflects your character. You have an innate desire to know the truth. You are ready for additional challenges. You've completed the surface level. I am present for it. If you have not yet done so, please consider subscribing to this channel. Why? Because this isn't the last message. More information will be provided in due course. A further disclosure. Additional truth. Additional advancements. Also, do not ignore God's upcoming revelations. Share this with someone who has been isolated and isn't sure why. Please forward it to the person who requires confirmation that they have not been forgotten. Post it somewhere where your future self will be able to refer to it if any doubts arise. Walk as if you're aware of your affiliation until the next time. Stand confident that you are adequately protected. Speak with the conviction that your words matter. And live as if you understand that the best is yet to come. Because it is. We all climb toward the light.